Hi there, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplanty Goodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion, which you might be able to see behind me and possibly in front of me as well. It's tropical houseplants. Now, as a new YouTube content creator, it does really help if you like videos like this, or if you like this video specifically, consider dropping a like down below because it will let me know to create more content like this. If you like content like this generally and you're really getting into your houseplants as well, consider subscribing as well, because every week, about 2 to 3 times a week, I'll bring out a new video along these types of topics. Now, diving into today's plant, which you might be able to see in front of me, and I'll bring it in a bit higher as well so you might be able to see. Hopefully, some of you might be able to recognize what this plant is, and I'll bring it in a bit closer so you might be able to see what the stem is looking like on top of the soil, and you can see the new cataphyll growing in there as well. Now, I think a few weeks back, I was mentioning about my big Gloriosum that you might be able to see at the back. This is another Gloriosum. So the big Gloriosum that you can see right there at the back, and you can see some discoloration on the leaves there. One of my followers on Instagram was wondering what plant that was and if it was something different, and she'd not seen it before and it was looking kind of cool. It does look okay. It's also a plant that is struggling a bit at the moment because I let it get a bit too dry and then drenched it as I normally would. And what you're seeing in that leaf around there, that slightly lighter color around there, is the fact that the leaf got some edema. So basically it's when the cells burst because the water was absorbed way too quickly. Now, that's doing fine. It's got new growth points coming out as well. I also chopped and propagated that as well. I did some air layering, and I can do a video on air layering if you want. Do request it in the comments down below and let me know. But this was the original Gloriosum, and this is a bit of a story time. This was the original Gloriosum that I got from a seller from Instagram, local seller in the UK, and I hadn't checked the roots before I bought the plant. And unfortunately, when it arrived to me, the roots were pretty much rotted entirely. So I did what Kaylee would normally do and chopped off quite a few of the leaves in order to give it enough energy so it can root out. It took a very long time to start rooting out. It was doing okay. I stuck the stem, and spoiler alert, I did a lot of things wrong when trying to rehab this plant. What Kaylee mentions works like a charm every time, so that was completely fine. But one of the big things that I did wrong, and this is something I've talked about on my channel, the importance, especially with scrambling philodendrons, the ones that will grow along the soil level and not the ones that will climb up something, is I buried the stem quite heavily into the soil, and the leaves were coming out really weirdly shaped and really tiny, and it really wasn't growing. And then it was using up its water quite normally, but then there was a point of root rot, so I had to start all over again. I put it in my light airy aroid soil mix. I put it in a way that it was actually angled so that the stem was on the top, and since then it started growing this leaf, this tiny little leaf, but it was coming out in the right way. And then it pushed out this one, and now a much larger leaf. And based on what I'm seeing already in terms of the cataphyll here, that one's going to be even larger still. I've since had to repot this into a bigger pot, because if you've got a Gloriosum, or if you're thinking about getting a Gloriosum, something you should be aware of is because they're scramblers and they do grow relatively fast actually, they grow along the soil level, don't put it in a very small pot, because you're going to have to repot quite quickly because it's going to hit the end of the pot. So maybe see about getting one of those troughs, so those longer planters, and getting it started at the very end of it so it's got the whole length of the planter to kind of grow forward essentially. This is one that I started my other Gloriosum in as well, because it's a slightly wider terracotta pot, and that one has now, since you might be able to see it at the bottom there, it's in a terracotta trough. So the same thing will happen to this as well. And generally this was more of a bit of a quick video to say, don't give up on your propagates, especially ones that have struggled, have gone to root rot. As I said, this plant has had root rot twice so far, and I'm not negating the fact that there might be root rot again in its future. I'm trying really hard to keep this happy. The other one's doing really, really well. This has got a substantially smaller stem. That one has got a much chunkier stem. But it's doing quite well. And it's taken its time, but it's bouncing back and it's fighting back. And Gloriosums generally don't get too disheartened. They are fighters for sure. This is one of the philodendrons that's very hardy, I find, in terms of being able to bounce back. So don't give up on your propagates. Do try. It's always a good idea. So obviously this one was struggling, so I ended up getting a second one. I managed to somehow find two in the span of a week from each other when I was taking, it took me nearly a year to be able to find the one. But always try with your plants as much as possible, especially if you're worried that you might cause any issue in terms of root rot or anything else, or if you're learning on the plant. As soon as it's large enough, try to take a cutting and try to start propagating that cutting, because essentially that is your insurance plant. And you'll have a second one in case the original plant struggles or dies off, but then you'll have a secondary plant. So I do have this now. It's growing quite nicely. When it starts being a lot more established and I know that it's entirely fine, I will probably plant it in with my other Gloriosum to make it even bushier. Because the problem with scramblers is they will grow in a straight line and it grows in weird shapes, but it doesn't fill a pot really, really well. So yeah, that's just a bit more. I wanted to talk about rehabbing Gloriosums and what I have found has worked for me. Now, if you've got any questions, if you've got any comments, do drop them down below. I'd love to have that conversation with you. We're growing a bit of a community and a lot of people are helping each other in the comments, which I think is absolutely amazing. But yeah, in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.